Hey, welcome back. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about sharpening.
This is only one way of sharpening, so I'll put some cards to other sharpening videos that are good.
So I'm going to talk about how I sharpen my knives, how I do it here in the shop with all my tools. So don't take this as the be-all and end-all of knife sharpening, but this is simply how I do it. Alright, so a lot of people struggle with sharpening because they don't actually know what it is that they're trying to accomplish. So if you imagine, a knife is a wedge, right? So that would be the geometry of the knife. Going down, this would be the edge, this would be the spine. So, say it hasn't been sharpened at all yet. So there's going to be a little bit of a flat right there. Just a little bit. So, when you're trying to sharpen, what you're actually trying to do, you're trying to make another bevel here. Here, I'll draw this bigger. So you're trying to make another angle here. And you need to keep sharpening at that angle until you entirely get rid of that flat section. And the way you're going to know that you're all the way there is you're going to make a burr. So when you get all the way down and it's actually sharp, there's going to be a little flap that kind of hangs off, kind of like that. So you're going to be able to feel that. You're going to be able to see it sometimes, but you're also going to be able to feel it. Once you've got that edge all the way down to sharp, you'll be able to feel that there's a burr hanging off there, which is just going to be a little kind of a steel wire on the edge. What you need to do then is you need to strop that burr off. So basically, you just need to sharpen, evenly on both sides until you get that little wire burr on the edge. And then you need to either strop it off or take it off on stones or whatever. You need to take that burr off. And then once that burr is off, so you've made the burr and then you've knocked it off, that's when the knife is actually sharp. So now that we know how sharpening actually works, I'll show you how I sharpen my knives. So this is a kitchen knife I just finished up today. This is almost down to sharp. And I like just the bevel. It goes so thin. But it's still flat on the edge. It's not really sharp yet. So first I'm going to tape the blade up with some blue painter's tape just so that I don't accidentally scratch it. Some tape on there. Okay, so we've got our knife all taped up, and I've got a 800 grit belt on the grinder. I'm starting off with an 800 grit belt just because this is already so thin. If I was doing something with a much thicker edge, I might start with a slightly coarser grit, maybe a 400 or maybe even a 220 if it was really thick, but for this, I'm just going to start off at an 800 because it's pretty close. So I'm just going to come in here at a little bit of an angle, and this is where the belt's not supported by the platen anymore, right? It's flexible between the wheel and the platen. So it's going to give a slight convex just at the edge. So usually I come in here at a angle kind of like this. I don't know exactly what angle that is. It's just like this. Just kind of go by feel. And just going to take just make sure right there. Go across. Alright, then I'll turn the grinder on and just go right along there. So I've got the grinder down pretty low. It's going pretty slow. So just gonna Alright, and now just 3 passes is pretty much all I need to do, so now I'll flip it over and do the other side. And if you can tell, I'm feeling the edge this way. feel where I've got that burr and where I don't. So I've got it on most of the edge. So now I just gotta get the parts where I don't have that burr popping yet. Alright, I still have a little more to go, but I just want to show you that burr or wire edge I'm talking about. You can kind of see right at the very edge it's kind of glinting. If I run my finger over it, it'll flip over to the other side. It's kind of hard to show. But there, I think you can see it right there. Hanging off at the edge. You can feel it, you can work it back and forth with your thumb. That's what we're trying to get along the whole edge. Alright, now I've got that burr along the whole edge. So now we have to strop that off to make it truly sharp. There's a few different ways to do that. So some people use a leather strop to work that off. Some people like to use just a whetstone. Some people use a piece of cardboard. You can use a piece of wood. Some people use like linen. What I prefer is I just buff it. I just buff that burr right off, and it polishes the edge up too. So that's what I prefer. All right. So we've got that burr. Now we're just gonna use the buffer to buff it off. Just gonna use some white compound. Edge down, obviously. You wouldn't want to do that. You'd kill yourself.
And it's important to note that I'm not trying to mirror polish the edge. I'm simply trying to work that burr back and forth until it weakens and falls off.
And when you're using a buffer on blades like this, you need to be really careful, because these things can just grab it and just pull it out of your hands. And if it's a sharp knife, you really have to be careful with that. So now, yeah, that's nice and sharp. And this is just some newspaper. This is super easy. Basically, I just draw a burr on an 800 grit belt, then buff it until the burr is gone. And then it's sharp.
It seems like everybody has their own way of sharpening. This is only one way. This is just what I've found to work for me. You don't need to do it this way, and this isn't necessarily the best way to sharpen. But this is what I've been doing, and I've been getting good results like this.
There we go. Alright. Thank you for watching. Have a good one.